you know us, we're gonna give you our hot takes on popular culture. One thing that was popping right now is well, it's actually funny because when we recorded the last episode, like probably like 20 minutes after, well, it wasn't even 20 minutes, right? It might have been 10 minutes.
Yeah.
After we finished recording our last episode, then DDG and Halle, it's Halle, right?
Yeah.
They announced that they're having a baby.
That they had a baby.
That they had a baby.
Yeah.
Which was speculated for months. He did the fake troll. It wasn't fake, obviously, but he did the troll post of like a while ago.
He did the April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
Because he's done that before. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, he knew what he was doing. Because he's done that with all his exes.
Yeah. So first and foremost, before we get into this topic, congratulations to them. Anytime somebody's able to bring life into the world, it's a beautiful thing. So shout out to them. And they are aesthetically beautiful, because that's the thing. A lot of people, and it might be most people, are some weirdos, and they feel like because they see somebody on a video or they're aware of somebody, they feel like they know them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, maybe he actually even replied. I feel like I saw something where, he did actually reply, where somebody was like, oh, I love this for her, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, you don't know her. Like, and you don't know me just because you see me on YouTube.
Which I feel like he was taking his anger out on that girl's comment, because I don't think the girl meant any harm. But
yeah, no, she definitely didn't. But it's true.
It's true.
Even in the positive comments, like, you don't know anything about these people just because you see them on TV. Mm-hmm. People, there's actually a scientific term for it, and I forget what it is, unfortunately.
It's called para something.
Yeah.
Para something.
Yeah, what is
like
it?
It's
parasocial
yeah,
something?
parasocial relationship. Because I saw a TikTok where somebody said that, I don't know, maybe they were trolling, but they were saying, like, it was, what's Kai and all his friends group called?
AMP.
Yeah. They were like, he was like, these, like, I feel like they're my friends, and they were all like doing cheers, and he was like on the screen, you saw that?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, this is very weird. Like, yeah, it's parasocial.
Yeah.
The parasocial relationship.
People think because they see you on stream or they see you on social media that they feel like they know you. Yeah. Even if you're giving your opinions and telling your audience about yourself, people think that they actually know you.
Yeah.
Just because of that, and that's obviously not the case. You don't know these people in real life.
And lots of times you would probably be surprised that a lot of people that we like idolize are probably like really not good people.
No, I would 100%.
Because you think about your average day-to-day person that people might generally think is a good person, that you know another side of them, and you're like, that's not a good person. Like, but they're so loved and adored, but you know, like, that there's sides of them that not good.
Yeah, that's why they always say, don't pray to meet your idol, because you'll be disappointed.
Yeah. Like, I imagine meeting Kanye, and like, I mean, I don't think Kanye's a bad person, but I feel like, imagine meeting him in a moment, if him being mad.
Yeah, he might treat you poorly, and that's like.
But that's why you should never have put another human on that type of pedestal.
Yeah, but yeah, he was responding to a comment like that, saying, love this for her, whatever. He's like, you don't know her, which I agree with. But aside from that, again, congrats to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think. Well, actually, I don't even know, because I'm not really on Twitter where people mostly post their thoughts about things. So I'm not sure if you saw anything, but what was the general consensus about people's feelings about it?
It was very mixed, because a lot of people do not like DDG. Because first of all, I will say, like, a woman in general, and like we said this with the whole Simone Biles situation, they look for something quickly to break down, like, another man, especially black men, like, because there is like this disdain that a lot of black women, there's always black women versus black men. So a lot of women probably were looking for a reason not to like DDG in the first place. But the reason why a lot of people don't like him, which is a fair reason, is because Ruby Rose posted that DM. It was back around like Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And
like Valentine's Day last year. And I remember Halle and DDG were fighting because everybody, all the blogs were picking up that they unfollow each other. There was like some weird stuff going on, right? And then now you in Ruby's DMs, and Ruby posted the DMs like, this is why I'm scared, or this is why I'm single.
Yeah.
Because it's like, look at, like, in the DMs was like, him like, what you on, or what you doing, where you at, something like that, right? And she was just like, wow, of course you're hitting me up while you guys are fighting, and then he was like, you're right, like, LOL, you right, like, he was definitely trying to link up, dude, and that's just like crazy to me, and I can understand why people are mad about that, because it's like, you have to have that maturity. Like, I don't care if you and that person are fighting. Maybe you guys did break up, right? Maybe they broke up. But still, like, heal. Like, why are you so quick to run to the ex when you're in a fight or we're in an argument? Like, that's mad immature. Like, that's something we would do at, like, 19, 20. I mean, I don't have exes, so I don't know, but I'm sure that a young, immature version of me might have had that temptation to hit up an ex when you're fighting with your current partner.
Let me speak to that.
But when you're a grown adult in this industry, it's just crazy.
To speak to that real quick, because on this podcast, I'm going to tend to be the voice, because there's certain stuff that I've been through, and I think that low key, if I give 15 seconds of advice to someone, it might save them 5 years of trauma and tumultuous pain. So like, I'm gonna try to be that voice for the male perspective. Like, don't do that. Like, if there's any young kid watching this, because as you get older, you should know why that's wrong. But clearly, he's how old?
He's not that much younger than us. He's 26, I think. So, and when he did that, he had to have been 25.
25. Okay.
His birthday. I know his birthday is like, I think it's like October or something.
Regardless, young kids, because I know a lot of these YouTubers and streamers, their audience is young kids. Don't do that. Like, take a second. Like, you can end up going and doing that if you want to later on. That's perfectly fine. But your immediate reaction, and I'm not speaking to him specifically, but just in general as a word of advice, don't try to go run and try to jump on whoever you feel like is available to make yourself feel better, because it's not going to make you feel it's not going to make you feel better. Even if you get what you want out of that interaction, it's not going to make you feel better. Like, so take a second and think and process your emotions, because you want, like, if you're in a moment of being hurt, and women too, right? Because women do the same thing. In a moment of hurt, what you want to do is you want to go confide and find whatever thing gives you that dopamine. So some people turn to the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever sort of physical or even just emotional support. From a human perspective, people also go to alcohol, drugs, whatever your source of dopamine is. Like, people immediately jump to that.
Distract you from what you're going through.
And the distractions usually aren't a good thing. So I would just say, word of advice, don't do that.
You need emotional intelligence. Like, and it's hard to, it's better, it's better, what's the word, like, it's better said than done.
Yeah.
And even, like, I feel like after a certain point, right, after, like, people always say 25 is when you get mature. Like, I do feel like I'm a lot more mature, and I do have a lot more discernment. It's like, you know what, like, you're going to lose. And, like, you're just not that type of person where, like, you're like, ew, like, you have enough self-respect to not do that, you know? But it's like, I feel like even we see people after the age 25 are still immature. Like, people still do it, but definitely when you're younger, it's definitely more tempting to do it. And it's just, from a woman's perspective, saying, giving advice to men, and women do it too, right? But giving advice to men, like, don't do that, because now, like, it isn't like there's either the ex or there's another girl now who feels like she has a one up on your girl. Like, oh, like, why he in my DMs, why he in my messages, and like, from a woman perspective, like, that's not a good feeling. Like, when there's another woman out there that could say something about you now, or feel a one up, or feel like they got something over you, or even sometimes feeling like they compared to you, because you're going to them seeking that, like, attention, and now they, especially if the current girl looks better, now they thinking we match up,
right?
And it's like, there's so much implications I feel like people don't think about, because you're just human. You're in the moment, you're mad, you're upset, but there's so much more that could just ruin a relationship. And it's like, you just don't want to do that. Like, if you're really done with the person, fine, do whatever. But if you really know deep down that you're not done with this person, you're just hurt and trying to make them mad and trying to make yourself feel better, just sit and process your emotions. Sit at home, curse to yourself, maybe vent to some friends, but don't do the whole hit it at my ex.
And
or hit up a random.
Couldn't agree more, especially, and this is critical, especially if you plan on potentially getting back with the person you're trying to get revenge on.
Because now you're just creating more issues in a relationship, more hurt, more trust issues.
Right, and it's literally pointless. Like, if you're completely done with the person, then fine, because then it doesn't matter at all, right? Go do whatever you're gonna do. But if you intend to stay with this person, or you potentially have the slightest feeling that you might want to work it out in the future, then don't do it. Like, it's just not worth it. And it's the thing that I had to learn is that you never really get over certain things that people do to you. And I'll speak in a relation from a relationship standpoint, you never really get over those things. Like once certain stuff happens in your relationship, like it's not like that stuff just ever disappears.
Yeah.
So it might not be presently on the mind, like you're discussing it currently, but it never really goes away.
Yeah.
So if your intention is to potentially keep going with and have a future with this person, then you definitely shouldn't do that because that stuff never goes away. Like women definitely don't forgive.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we can forgive, but we don't forget.
Definitely don't forget. And I don't think that women tend to forgive. I think if a man does something that was so hurtful to a woman, I think that women tend to hold those things. And this is not coming from just personal experience, but it's also coming from stories I've heard from other men as well, that the second a man does something, they're gonna hold those things against you for the rest of your life. Like it's gonna come up at some point, like, "Oh, you did this to me," and blah blah blah. And I'm not using that voice to try to mock women.
No, it's true.
But it's true. Like I've seen it. So
I think unless though, like there's definitely if there's like forward. I'm talking football term to forward progress. If there's forward progress,
that's a first down.
If there's forward progress, though, I feel like last time stuff doesn't come up as much because like. Not to put out my parents' business, but my mom said like last time. Well, I'm saying very broad, but my mom was saying last time why she still brought up stuff that happened early in my parents' relationship before marriage, or even earlier in their marriage, is because she felt like my dad wasn't making any progress toward actually making amends for those things. So it's not like he wasn't wasn't planning dates, wasn't being lovey-dovey. So it's like you're not doing anything to really heal what was broken. So of course now the brokenness is going to feel even worse, and I'm just going to still think about all the stuff that happened early and how you haven't changed. But I think if you show change, then you could definitely move past those things. There still might be stuff never fully goes away. Stuff is always going to be very deeply rooted in your brain, even if you're not personally thinking of it. You might randomly think of it, but I feel like it takes away a lot of stuff like that if you just are showing progress and showing that you changed and that you have actually healed and whatever.
Yeah, and just to reiterate my point to any male audience that I might have, like as tough as you may feel. Like that stuff really doesn't go away. Like I have to keep reiterating.
And it's just crazy too, because like you think about so much. Like when we were young, those little moments, right? Like that you're just it's so in the moment they feel so insignificant, and like you're just doing it because you're mad, and it's like it's crazy to think that such a small just decision or dumb message that you might have sent or whatever is just now forever a thing.
There's nothing,
it's like damn,
nothing you can do about
that
it.
one small second of a moment, and now it's still something that still affects a relationship years later. It's crazy. It's like it's not worth it. Because in those moments you don't see this far ahead. You don't see 10 years into the future. But
yeah. But to get back to the topic at hand specifically,
that was the reason why.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. That's the reason why a lot of women were been saying stuff about Halle run.
Right.
Ew, look at this guy. And then like a lot of women just don't like how he is. Like he's a big troll. Like, and I mean my whole thing is the same thing with Jonathan's situation. If that's her man, that's what she like. The trolling stuff never bothered me. Like I used to literally like I wouldn't say I was a fan, but I used to be a supporter. Like I used to follow him back in 2018, 2019. I kind of stopped following him in recent years because he has annoyed me, and I feel like the maturity level. And I get it, you have to make your money, but for me, I feel like you could evolve with your audience, and it doesn't have to be trolling. People will still love to see him grow and be mature and still make his money in a more mature way. So I just outgrew him as a supporter, but I do understand because I agree. Like I didn't like that. Like that for me is like ew. Like why are you in Ruby's DMs? Like could you and your girl fighting? Like I don't like that. So I'm not against women not liking him because I agree. Like I don't know him personally, but I don't off that one move. I don't like it. And, I hope their relationship has moved past that, and I hope they can move past that. But it's like, you're too old for me at 25 to be doing that. So, yeah, it was mixed reviews. A lot of men are supporting him because they're like, damn, like, you hating on this black man who got money, who took his family out. Like, I get that whole, angle, too. So, a lot of people supporting him, like, there is a baby, even people who didn't really like him, like, oh, I didn't really like him, but... there's always a blessing to bring a kid in if they're happy. Like I'm happy that she's healthy. So it was very mixed reviews. But there's people just like, damn, like, no, now you're stuck.
Yeah.
And then there's the crowd of where's the ring?
Yeah, and that's the other part. So for me, I'm always on the side of I don't care.
Yeah.
Now, specifically, I'm just saying I don't care in the sense that like we were talking about with Simone Biles and her marriage, like as long as nobody's doing anything to harm somebody else, I'm always rolling. So if you're happy and that's what you're looking for, then perfectly fine. Who am I to comment? Because I can't. Because I hate that people are like that. Like people will have a mentality where they believe something,
Yeah.
and it's not good enough for them to just believe it on their own. They want to have other people have the same perspective as themselves, and I hate that. Like it's such a stupid way of thinking. And it's led to literally millions of people dying with like religion, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later actually because I have a topic to talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh boy, buckle in for that one. But yeah, so as long as they're happy, I'm rolling.
Yeah.
And we did want to discuss the concept of marriage in this, so let's not go too crazy with it from a time perspective.
Yeah, no, like it's just a brief like concept that I just trying to understand.
Would you say, because I don't have the stats on it, right? And
Yeah,
I think people need to differentiate between real life and entertainment. So in the entertainment world, as we could see with Cat Williams exposing a lot of stuff, or some of the podcasts I listen to, or comedians talking about the industry, or just people in general that are in the industry that talk about some of the dark stuff that goes on. Entertainment world is something completely different than regular people world. So they live a completely different life. They have millions of dollars. They are in certain rooms. They don't deal with some of the quote unquote real world problems that other people deal with. They're essentially in a bubble. Yeah. So people first and foremost should not compare the environment that we exist in with their environment, because it's something completely different. It's a whole different world, just like politics is a whole different world. That's why I really appreciated the show House of Cards, because it shows those kinds of things. I appreciate Succession because it shows those type of things where it's like exposing certain industries and the differences between them, right? Like in the medical field, I would have no idea what goes on in there because I'm not in that field. No, and they wouldn't be able to know what goes on in finance, and I wouldn't be able to know what goes on in entertainment outside of what people tell me. And even if people tell me that still doesn't mean that I know. You have to live it. You have to live it
to truly understand really anything.
Right. So when it comes to the whole get married first, then you move in, then you have a kid, then you get a 401k, like that whole structure that
doesn't make sense for everybody.
It's really dictated based on society, like the broad society, like like the regular folks like ourselves.
Yeah.
So people should look at it from that perspective, but I don't have hold up, and I don't have the stats. But do we think that there's an increase in people having babies outside of being married?
It's hard to tell because I feel like we live in a social media world, so we see so much, so that might be our perception, but the stats might be very stagnant. They might not have even really changed much over the years. It's just that we see more, so we perceive that that might be the case, but we wouldn't really truly know unless there was some stats. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some stats though, because I do think with the increase in social media does change people's perspectives on relationships, marriage. I feel like people are so much quicker now to end marriages and end relationships, which could be a good thing for some people, right? Because definitely in the past, a lot of people were staying in a relationship they probably shouldn't have, abusive relationships, not knowing their worth. But I also do think some people are so quick to leave relationships because they feel like there's this illusion of options. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, in one case, it probably is helpful that people are leaving marriages that they should have left, but in another aspect, it's probably detrimental that people are leaving marriages that aren't that bad, but they think they're bad because they feel like they have options and they want to relate to women's gripes and issues, and they want to be able to be relatable, like my ex-husband, my ex-boyfriend, there's that group of people. So there's a double-edged sword.
I feel like that with the Tyrese situation.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel like, when that type of things arises, then there's definitely less marriages, more single mothers, and definitely an increase in babies out of wedlock. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an increase in the stat, and there probably is an increase just based off population increasing naturally, but I'm sure there is some type of increase in babies being born out of wedlock. And I mean, my whole thing is I understand the perspective, because people would be like, "Nah, everybody believes in marriage," and I get that. I get it, because realistically, a lot of people aren't religious, right? And marriage is a religious concept. And then some people just don't necessarily care for the benefits that come with it, which you kind of should, because there are a lot of tax benefits. Sometimes you are better off being a partner. Oh my God, my food.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, get that Mickey D's. But yeah, there's benefits of being a partner from like the tax perspective. Like you mentioned, you get discounts on your taxes. There's also benefits when you're buying property. Like there's a lot of different benefits that go on from being in a marriage itself. But still, with even within that, right? Because now we're bringing in the concept of finances, which is a big part of marriages and actually the number one reason why people get divorced. But it should just come down to love at the end of the day. But I know that's kind of idealistic. So we kind of can't necessarily ignore the financial part. But I can't tell. Like, we definitely would need stats on that, because there was the concept that people introduced about like, all these kids are so fast and they're having these pregnancies and blah, blah, blah. But actually, as of late, there's actually less teen pregnancies that exist versus the early 2000s and the 90s. It's actually decreasing in the amount of teen pregnancies that exist. So like you mentioned, like, yeah, there is social media, so we might just be there might be more visibility into certain things, and that's why it might seem like there's a big wave of people having babies outside of wedlock. But at the same time, that might not necessarily be true. That's why we kind of need stats on this topic. But yeah, I do think that one thing that for sure, even without having the stats in front of us, that I believe to be true, is that I think that people, especially like the impressionable younger generation, and I'm 27 for anybody that doesn't know, so anybody younger than me, I think that the kids that are coming up in this generation, when they see entertainers, I feel like now more than ever, people are more interested in relating to the entertainers. So they're kind of like, as crazy as it sounds, they would do something like have a baby out of wedlock because that's what somebody else did. So
Oh yeah, I was hearing what you
there
said.
probably will be an increase at some point.
Yeah, because I feel like everybody wants to be a baby mom, a baby dad, so they can relate to Sexy Reds. Oh,
Yeah,
my bad.
as
That's my baby dad. Like, everybody wants to be like BM, BD.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to wife, husband? Like, people think that sometimes corny. Like, how's that corny?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it might be. Who cares? But, you know, it's just something to think about in terms of a cultural shifting perspective, because I remember just historically, when you look at it, like the concept of a nuclear family was like a big deal, to have the dog and the white picket fence and everybody in the same household. But if that's not a focus anymore, it's just kind of interesting. It's not necessarily that I have like a perspective on it. I know what I would want to do.
Yeah.
But
I'm not going to force that onto other people, basically.
Yeah, and I wonder, and from what I've seen in my own experiences outside of entertainers, from what I've seen is I feel like, and people have said this, like they want the nuclear family, but for some reason they just don't make it happen.
It seems like people want it,
Right.
women and men. So it's like confusing. I'm like, then where's the disconnect? Like, I think people just are so quick to cut things off and just, you know.
Yeah, I think the disconnect comes from like the being influenced by others, because we were talking about this the other day about like people listening to Future and then they're drinking lean because of the Future, and I don't mean to pick on him specifically, but we have specific examples of that. And then people, in a weird way, they just literally want to emulate the entertainers that they see, and they think it's cool, but then they have that moment of like realization
when they get to like 30 and they're like, dang, like I have nothing to show for myself except maybe now I have a few baby mamas and just a whole bunch of women or men that I've ran through, and the family that I've always wanted is not here. No. And then and then the rises of depression and loneliness and stuff starts happening. No. But it's just I get it. Like I get that marriage is not for everyone, and I get, especially when you're rich, right? Like there's more implications, like prenups and stuff. But I don't know. For me, I always feel like showing that level of commitment to a person before a baby says a lot. Like you're choosing me. You're not marrying me after I have a kid because now you feel you have to. Like you're choosing me, and then we're gonna build a family together. And I feel like that's important in like successful relationships. Like choosing your person and not feeling obligated to marry them because you asked them, they got pregnant.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everything works out for them. Like I said, and baby is here, so that's always beautiful. So hopefully baby's healthy. Hopefully Halle is healthy, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of YouTube clips and videos of the baby and their family together. So shout out to them. Yeah, we should get a lot of interesting vlogs.
Yeah, even though he's already posting pictures on like a baby page, Instagram page, and blurring out the picture, so he's still trolling. But
no. Hey man, listen.
You gotta make your money.
Make your money, and he's definitely made a lot of it. So
yeah,
as long as it's not causing harm to nobody.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing to say.
But yeah, basically to summarize the marriage topic. Like I said, like everybody do them, but me personally, I want the ring before the baby. Like I want that commitment, like to each other. Then create the baby, because then we know the love and the foundation is there. Like, don't just make me a baby mom like that. No, you think more highly of me, unless you just don't agree with marriage. Like some women might not agree with it, but I agree with it.
But if you do, then act like you do.
Yeah.
No.
And move in life like you do, because I feel like people don't move in life like they do. They move very like crazy on both sides. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.